Starscream Kills presents, in a Geeky Guy production. Recently I've been asked by someone, MTG Brandon, to have a quick look over their deck, which is essentially a deck critique. Now, deck critique is a very interesting kind of request, and I sort of have this coffee mug that says, has these two doors. It's a Far Side comic, and it shows a devil pushing a guy with a pitchfork, and one door says, "Damned if you do," and the other one says, "Damned if you don't." And the devil's saying, come on, choose one. Sometimes deck critique can be a little bit like that, and so part of it is watching the pitfalls of deck critique, because, again, like with my Johnny video, I pointed out that, the psychographic profiles video, and you critique someone's deck, especially like a Johnny, that's like going up to a mother and saying your baby's ugly, it's stupid. You've got to be careful. But yet, these people are asking for something, and you don't want to be, condescending or patronizing or unnecessarily flattering, insincere. So part of it is noticing and watching the pitfalls of deck critique, and we're going to use MTG Brandon's deck as an example of some principles about doing deck critique. When we do deck critique, the first important thing to understand is theory. Theory is absolutely important, whether it's business, psychology, social services, you name it, theory is absolutely hugely important. When someone says, "I don't have a theory," no, you are talking to an idiot. Because they do have a theory. The problem is they haven't reflected on it, which means it's going to suck. Basically, what theory is it's a roadmap. If I want to get, this is my home city, if I want to get from my house to a job interview, I need to consider all the possible routes that I'm going to go to. So I had like a job interview on this past Friday, and today is Saturday. Well, I had like a couple different routes that I could take. Now, inside theories, whether it's magic cards or anything else, you have techniques, like in driving. I got a left-hand turn, I got a right-hand turn, I got some parallel parking, and I got some three-point turns. But if I'm going 70 miles per hour down a highway, a three-point turn is a no-go, because it's a big fallout on three levels. One, failure of context. Two, failure of theory. Why does a three-point turn have to do with getting to my destination going 70 miles per hour? I might like the technique, but it's absolutely inappropriate, which is the last one, application. How does that apply to what I'm trying to do? It doesn't. So the fact is, you might like Raging Goblin, you might like Lightning Bolt, but if you're not running a red burn deck, it's pretty stupid. So point is, you got to have it fit within the context. And then when it comes to theory, and especially deck critique, it's not our theory, it's their theory. It's they're giving us the directions, and we have to look and say, okay, they want to go here, does 4 right turns and 3 left turns in some form of sequence make a lot of sense, or does it not? And that is absolutely important. So when we critique a deck, we don't use our own theory. We've got to interrupt inside their theory, and working within their frame, look at the techniques or the cards or the turns or the business moves or the psychology interventions that they're using, and ask, does this make sense? That's why theory is absolutely crucial. This is my little laboratory where I do a lot of getting my footage about my play testing. You may not be able to see it, but I got Magic the Gathering online here. I've got my toy avatar taking a stance that's very similar to the tripod with the camera that I'm using right now for filming this. And it goes here on a tray table, and I sit here and I use my mouse and I play my games and I capture them. Sometimes I have to film like a couple hours worth of games just to get a couple 30-second clips, like for the Unstable Terrain promo that I did and so forth recently. Point is, you've got to do play testing. A lot of people may have said that Goblin Bushwhacker is a crap card. I have played against this card. This card kicks ass. You wouldn't know it by looking at it. You've got to play it until figure this out. That's the point. So a thing that also we have to consider is, how does the play testing go? For example, I've got 2 ally decks that I've been working on, and one of them, Twisted Heroes, has taken a lot of play testing to figure out the deck composition. And I had to eat, you know, a lot of my own hat, so to speak, about when it came to this deck. More on that one later. But the point is, you've got to do play testing. And when it comes to deck critique, we've got to ask people, how's that working for you? The old Dr. Phil. How's that working for you? So in synopsis, we got to bring that all together. Essentially, we've got to look at the theory, not our theory that we like. Like, for example, MBV is an aggro attack deck. You know, I don't want you control suggestions with it. Thank you very much. The landfall is aggro control. So, you know, I do take those types of suggestions. For example, someone posted, why don't you consider Spell Pierce? Guess what? Not only considered it, I took out Naturalize and put Spell Pierce in. It is main deck, not sideboard, for unstable terrain. Because it's an aggro control strategy, and that works for it. So, you know, part of it is understanding the strategy when we give critiques and we understand these decks. Another piece is tempo that I haven't talked about. I'll save that for a later one, but right now there's a really good article on that I'll include in the description of this video. A link to that. At any rate, the point is, so we take the theory, we take the play testing that they've done with it, we've asked them how that's worked, and then we start to build on some principles, and also one of respect, that this is their, you know, that's the underlying foundation, that this is their baby, and we're not going to say bad things about it. We're not going to attack them, we're not going to call them dumb names, and we're not going to call their deck dumb names. We're also going to honor the respect and the strategy and the theory that they have, not the ones we like. It's very tempting to get in there and hijack somebody's deck and just sort of morph it into something entirely different, especially with new players. But the point is, we start to take these principles into consideration, we look at the cards that are there based on the theory that they're putting forth, and then we start to get a picture and we can start to say, well, maybe this is good, maybe this is not, and or why is this here, why is this not? So anyway, with those in mind, we're going to get into a second video in which we'll look at MTG Brandon's MBV deck and see how it works based on some of these principles as an example of how to do this in a respectful manner. You did it again. Time is wasted and money just down the